You mentioned pressure from the U.S. not to escalate. So what is President Biden doing right now? What is his administration saying, and is it enough in this environment?
Well, I think the United States, since the April 1st attack on Iran's consulate in Damascus, the United States has been very concerned about escalation. They were very concerned about how Iran would respond. Iran's response last weekend was done with a lot of telegraphing, a lot of signposting. The Iranians let the United States know what they were going to do in advance. This gave the United States a lot of time to position air defenses, to get the Israelis ready, to shoot down most of the missiles and drones. And after the attack, after the dust had settled, the U.S. quickly pivoted to pressuring Israel, telling Israel, we know you need to respond to this attack on your homeland, but we urge you to keep your response small, to keep it calibrated so as to not give the Iranians a reason to continue this escalatory cycle. And I would argue that by all appearances, that pressure seems to have worked. The Israeli response, the attack this morning, was pretty small. It was fairly calibrated. What the United States is now trying to pivot to is getting the Israelis to look over the long term. What are the long-term solutions to the threat posed by Iran to Israeli security? And for the United States, the solution to that problem is more regional security infrastructure, getting the Israelis to agree to a broader regional framework that pulls them closer to states like Saudi Arabia, potentially states like Jordan. That's really the U.S. goal here. Rather than seeing Israel and Iran shooting at one another regularly, they want to strengthen Israel's position by pulling them closer to other states in the region.
How likely is that to happen?
Well, not very likely in the short term, which gets us back to the elephant in the room, which is Gaza. The situation in Gaza is now likely to return to the spotlight after 2 weeks of Israel-Iran hogging all the attention. And the situation in Gaza remains very, very bad. The humanitarian crisis there is ongoing. There seems to be even less chance of a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. I would argue that the conditions that have been created due to the Iranian attack on Israel last weekend will likely make it a little easier for Israel to proceed with an offensive in Rafah, something that the United States was pushing back on quite firmly 2 weeks ago, but now appears to be creating a little bit more space around. And given how bad things are in Gaza, given how unsettled the situation is there, Arab states like Saudi Arabia are going to continue to be very wary of associating with Israel. They're going to be wary of the so-called grand bargain that the Biden administration is trying to push. So long as the situation in Gaza remains unsettled, I wouldn't look for a big agreement pulling Israel into a regional security infrastructure with Saudi Arabia anytime soon.